Welcome to Casa de Confidence, a podcast for you. You'll hear some incredible women
and some awesome, cool dudes
going confidently in the direction of their dreams and living in the purpose of their heart.
You're our host,
Julie DeLucca-Collins, and you are our sidekick. # handsome hot husband.
That again.
And the producer of the show.
That I am.
I am an author, speaker, coach, dreamer, and most of all,
we help people go in the direction of their dreams
and support them on their purpose. So pull up a chair,
grab a drink,
and make yourself at home because our casa
is your casa.
Today, we're talking about something I guarantee you have already said today. And probably you said it more than once. You ready for it? The words, I'm sorry. And you said I'm sorry not because you accidentally stepped on someone's foot or you spilled coffee all over them, but probably because you were late by 2 minutes or you needed to ask a question or you were basically existing in somebody else's space. Yep, over apologizing. It's one of the most common things I hear from my clients, and honestly, it drives me crazy. And it's something that I also catch myself doing. So if you're a serial sorrier, don't worry, you're not alone. And today we're going to unpack why we do this, how it's hurting us, and most importantly, how to stop. So let's get ready for it. Number one, I want to talk a little bit about why we apologize too much. Well, the first reason is people pleasing. Many of us apologize as peacekeeping strategy. And we want to be liked. We want to avoid conflict and keep everyone happy. You know, I have a lot of friends that are people pleasers, and one in particular, she won't make plans. And basically, you'll say, where do you want to go? And she's like, oh, no, you decide. And you say, well, I don't care. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I don't know, wherever you want to go. And it drives me insane. Just make up your mind. And I know that, again, we're going to unpack a little bit more of where that people pleasing is coming from and that social anxiety. But it's very important to really, again, notice that people pleasing may be one of the reasons why you're apologizing too much. Let's talk about reason two. Reason two is, well, one of the reasons why I do it, and that's perfectionism. You know, I often talk about that perfectionism and the tendencies that I have to be that high achiever. Now, when your standards are impossibly high, you just start apologizing for being human. And I find this is something that I fall into. I have these really high goals and standards and metrics. And when I'm not meeting them, then immediately I'm like, oh, I can't believe this. I didn't make it. I'm so sorry. And I really go into the spiral. So perhaps that may be the other reason why you are that apologizer. Of course, there's another piece of it, and that is number three. The third reason why we do a lot of the apologizing and we use the I'm sorry is because of low self-esteem. For some of us, again, we are secretly in that place when we believe that we are a burden, and sorry really becomes a way in which we shrink ourselves. And low self-esteem is something that we suffer from. And the more that we work on our confidence, we can start to overcome that. But if you're saying, I'm sorry, and maybe it's not because of the people pleasing or not the perfectionism, it may be a low self-esteem issue. Now, the fourth reason is anxiety and trauma responses. And by the way, I fall into that. And what you're going to find is that your I'm sorries may fall into multiple of these categories as well. And for some of us, right, the anxiety and trauma responses come from saying, I'm sorry, just because we're trying to survive. And as kids, we apologizing, de-escalating anger, de-escalating the yelling or punishment. And that pattern just doesn't disappear in adulthood. I know that for me, this is really one of the trauma responses that I have at times. And it really shows up in my relationship with Dan. A lot of times he will be pointing something out. I immediately go into, right, the I'm sorry, because I want to please him. And I guess maybe I am a people pleaser. Maybe I don't want him to be upset with me. I don't want him to think badly of me. And I apologize. I didn't grow up in an abusive home, but I did grow up in a home in which, well, things weren't perfect. I got yelled at a lot. My mom lost her temper a lot as a single mom. And that caused me to make sure that the apologizing showed up as quickly as possible. Now, another reason why, again, we do lots of apologizing is because of cultural norms. And a lot of people grow up in cultures in which apologies are almost sign of politeness, and you're trained to say it constantly. I know for myself, I've been there as well. Growing up in El Salvador, you're taught to respect your elders, to excuse yourself as you're trying to interject into a conversation, or if you're bothering someone, right? Just by existing, you got to apologize. So we need to really unravel a lot of that. And this is a lot of the work that I spent years doing, and I am nowhere near perfect. And of course, I notice this in my clients when they apologize a lot. And I want to help them also unpack why they might be apologizing so that they can correct. And again, they can move past some of these behaviors that don't serve us. But before we talk about how to fix the apologizing, how to change it, let's talk a little bit about the cost of over apologizing, because there is a cost. And ultimately, this is something that keeps us from growing and thriving. The cost of over apologizing, among other things, right? So, number one, when we over apologize, it corrodes our self image and we start to see yourself as always wrong. Can you imagine if a child, all of a sudden, you're always telling them they're not good enough, they're terrible, and all of that? Then, yeah, they're going to look at themselves and think, I'm not worthy. And that is a painful place to be. So, over apologizing again is costing you your self image, the best possible self image that you can have in yourself. Now, the second cost of over apologizing is you appear incompetent at work to colleagues. They may read that as a weakness. Oh my gosh, boy, do I hate being viewed as a weak person. And when I was in my corporate career again, and even now in some of the relationships, right, when I'm starting something new, I watch myself for over apologizing because, yes, I am a beginner, but I don't have to apologize for being a beginner. I have to apologize for nothing when I'm a beginner. All of us start at the entrance. We all of us start at line one. All of us start in first place. We never move to the winning end of the race. And sometimes, if you think about it, if you were to put skates on yourself, right? And you're going to go roller skating and you never roller skated, you're not going to apologize for falling on your ass, are you? No, you're going to be like, oh, I'm just learning. I'm a little wobbly. But the more that you practice, the more that you go around, the less you are going to fall. So don't apologize. Over apologize in your work, in your relationships, because again, it makes you seem incompetent. Now, here's the other reason, the other cost of over apologizing. And like I mentioned, right? Over apologizing can annoy others. And boy, does that annoy the hell out of me. And not because I'm perfect, but because I guess I see part of myself in there. And it reminds me that I also could be an over apologizer sometimes. So, this is one of the reasons why I encourage my clients to not say, I'm sorry. When we are either in the mastermind, working together on the CEO retreat, or just in our one to one interactions, I will always say to them, stop apologizing, stop apologizing. And that's a good reminder for myself. But ultimately, you want to hear yourself. The apologies can eventually feel very hollow and unnecessary. And again, could be really annoying to some people like me, right? So the bottom line is that over apologizing doesn't actually make people like you more. If anything, it erodes your confidence and the respect that others can have for you. So here's some reflection questions. And I've been doing some of this in the past few weeks because, again, I find myself falling back into this I'm sorry very often, more often than I would like. So here's the first question. And if you're a journaler like me, these may be things that you want to process, and I will put them in the show notes as well so you can come back to them. But the first thing that I want to encourage you to do is that you ask yourself, what's your reaction when someone tells you no, right? What's your reaction? Are you jumping immediately to the I'm sorry? Mm. And ask yourself, why are you apologizing if someone said no? So unpack that a little bit and ask yourself, when has someone told me no and when did I apologize? The second question is why was it okay to advocate for yourself growing up or was it frowned upon? Again, advocating for ourselves is really something that we learn as we continue to age. And sometimes we're stuck in a pattern that we never speak up for ourselves. We never raise our hand. We never say, hey, I need that or I want that. And yes, ask yourself, are you able to advocate? And was it okay to advocate for yourself when you were a baby, when you were a toddler, when you were in middle school, when you were in high school, college, beyond, right? And even ask yourself now, is it okay to advocate for yourself? Wow, that's a really juicy question that you can unpack a lot of different things. And trust me, been there, done that, and had some incredible insights. And that's really the reason why I wanted to create this episode. Now, the third reflection question that I want you to jot down, and you don't have to do them all, and maybe you can do one or a combination, but ask yourself what shaped how you view authority and speaking up overall in your relationships or at work in a social environment, what shaped how you view authority? Was it something to be feared or something to step back on or something? Maybe you grew up in an environment that, you question authority and that was okay. But again, this is just a reflection, is not a judgment. When we see these things, when we unpack a lot of this, it's not necessarily to beat ourselves down, but it's to kind of like take a look at what's going on inside, right? What is that thing that is motivating us, that it's prompting us to continue to move in our life the way that we do? And now, of course, I talked a little bit about this, and I'm not a therapist, I'm just a coach, but I would be remiss, and this is a lot of what I've learned here in the podcast, interviewing some incredible individuals. And by the way, I have somebody coming up. We're going to be doing a series. Her name is Bev Middleman. And anyway, sneak peek at her episode is we talk about attachment styles. And wow, that was an eye opener. But again, let's go back to the apologizing. The I'm sorries and the over apologizing could be because of a trauma connection. Let's take a deep breath, right? Because perhaps you didn't think or don't think you're a person who has trauma. And that was me. If you said, oh, you have trauma, I would say, no, I'm not. That's for someone who had something horrific happen to them. But the reality is that we all carry our different traumas and at different levels, right? So let's be aware of them. Now, how is the apologizing, right, related to trauma? Well, number one, it's a survival strategy. You're trying to stay small to avoid punishment. Perhaps you grew up in that household where if you spoke up or if your parents were mad or if your dad came home from work and he was very stressed and maybe he had a substance abuse problem or whatever it might have been, right? Or it doesn't have to be that big. It could just be that you had a stressed out parent and you didn't want to bother them. You wanted to stay out of their way. You wanted to not rock the boat. You were stepping on eggshells. That definitely is a survival strategy. Of course, another trauma connection that I want you to see is that it's a learned behavior. We take blame even when it's not our fault. Think about it. How many times has something gone wrong and you had nothing to do with it other than being in the room watching it? And then you immediately took on the blame. Why? Because you wanted to smooth things over. You didn't want to rock the boat again. And of course, there's the fawning response, apologizing as a way of being non threatening. A lot of times, especially for women, we don't want to like assert ourselves because the world says if you're assertive, you're a bitch, right? It's like we can't win as a woman, but we want to stop apologizing because it doesn't matter if we threaten others. Step up into your power, right? You are the only person who is responsible for you, and who cares, right? And everybody else is responsible for their own feelings, responsible for their own thoughts. If something happens, whether you had a say in it or not, right? It just means that the outcome and how someone chooses to react is their responsibility, is their response, and they're going to get a result based on that. So look at just your responses and stop trying to not be threatening because you may not be, right? You're just reacting as you've been conditioned to. So, how do we stop apologizing? How do we do this? Okay. So, number one, we want to go ahead and understand our triggers. And this is something, like I said, when Dan's usually is asking me something and, sorry, I immediately jump into, I'm sorry, whatever, right? Or the information. Sometimes he's not even looking for an information. And I just go right in trying to explain away things. But rather than trying to like shut my mouth or not say anything or, just keep doing it, which is annoying, right? Or not right, because I don't have anything to apologize for. You want to notice who or what makes you apologize the most. Is it family? Is it colleagues? Is the stranger at the grocery store? What is causing you to apologize the most? So understand the things that immediately prompt that I'm sorry from you, right? Number two, the other way to stop over apologizing is that once you understand when you are triggered, right? When this happens the most, you want to pause. There is so much power in the pause. And when you feel yourself that I'm sorry is going to come out, take a deep breath. And ask, did I actually do something? Did I actually do something that prompts me, that requires me to say, I'm sorry? And of course, think about rephrasing. One of the things that I love also about the podcast is that I've met some incredible people that talk about gratitude. And gratitude really is one of the ways in which we can rewire our brain. So if you think about it, rather than saying, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'm late, you can say, hey, thank you so much for waiting for me, right? Let's rephrase that. Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't do that thing. You know what? Thank you so much for being patient with me. I'm going to get that to you, blah, 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 right? Whatever it is, let's try to build that language because there's so much power in language, but let's try to analyze, stop, understand when you're going to apologize, stop, take a beat. And again, be gratitude. Use that gratitude. Be in the positive rather than, falling into the negative I'm sorries. And of course, last but not least, because confidence is the point of it all, right? You want to practice assertiveness, my friends. Use I statements, set boundaries, and say no, right? Bottom line, you can always say no and remind yourself that you are worthy of respect. So let's practice together. Let's do a quick sample. Let's say you have all your stuff because you were doing some crafting. That's not me at all, by the way, because I don't craft. But let's say you're crafting and you put your crap all over the dining room. Not that it's crap, it's craft. Okay, so you put it all over your dining room. And then your partner, your friend, your child, your mother, whatever it is, they come into and rather than saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, all my stuff is there," how about we practice saying, "Ooh, let's reframe, right? Hey, thanks for making space for my stuff. Hey, thanks for being patient that my stuff is here." Or you can go the assertive way and say, "I need more room for my things. This is why they're here," right? There's nothing wrong with you, your things taking up space. Own your space. And again, it's going to take practice, right? Because going from "I'm sorry" to "Okay, thanks for making space for me," right? Takes a little bit of practice. And of course, you're going from totally all the way to the side of "I'm sorry" to a neutral response like, "Oh, thank you for making space for me." And then if you want to go all the way in, go from once you really have gotten used to just being neutral with the statement and taking away the "I'm sorry" out of your vocabulary, then go in and say, "Okay, I need more room for my things. My things belong here." And then you can start to assert yourself, right? You don't do it overnight. We don't do it overnight, but we can practice it. And then what you'll find is that the more that you go from the "I'm sorry" to the neutral statement, it's going to be much easier to go to the assertive statement. So in closing, next time that you feel yourself with that "sorry" bubbling up, stop and ask yourself, am I actually at fault or am I just shrinking myself? So, lots of things to unpack in the show notes, and I can't wait for you to check it out. So, my friend, thanks for tuning in, and don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams.
Thanks for listening to Casa de Confidence. We thank you for listening, and if you want more, go to casadeconfidencepod.com. Check Julie out on her socials as Julie DeLucca-Collins. And you can also check out her website at goconfidentlycoaching.com. Have a great week, and don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams.
Hi, everybody. I know that sometimes we get very lonely in this entrepreneur journey, and I want to invite you to join us into our limited time only Purposeful You Mastermind. For many of us entrepreneurs, we believe that we can do it all, but the reality is that doing it alone only creates a lot of overwhelm. So join us at the Purposeful You Mastermind. You can find out more information by going to bit.ly/Julie's Mastermind. This is going to be the place where you are able to then unlock your full potential and achieve long-term success for your business. Push you behind your current limits, expand your connections, discover new ideas, and implement them with confidence. You're going to get the support in all aspects and transforming you to the six-figure business you've been looking for. Pause and get off the hamster wheel if you've been spinning around. This is a time where you can get that support from like-minded entrepreneurs that are here to join you in your journey. Together, we can challenge the assumptions and land the speaking engagements and opportunities we want to grow our business and make an impact in the lives of people. See you then. Remember, you can find the mastermind at bit.ly, Julie's Mastermind.